perfect evening for some beach photography. Quick look at my camera setup. Got the Nikon DF 24-70mm lens. Got a circular polarizer on the end just to give a bit more contrast to the scene. A 6-stop ND filter, give me a longer exposure and get a nice smoother image. Make sure you cover off the eyepiece at the back. It stops any light leakage, especially with those long exposures. Have a sturdy tripod. Take the photo and let's see how it comes out. So this is the shot I ended up with. As you can see, it's not as colourful as what I saw with my own eyes. So if we have a quick look at the video, you can see the colours in the sky, a lot more purple, a lot more blue. And we go back to the image that I took and it's quite flat and not much going on. So this was taken in RAW format. When you take an image in RAW, they're generally quite plain looking, and we need to start manipulating them to get the most out of the image. So enhancing the colours, enhancing the contrast, bringing out the shadows, things like that. So let's quickly go through and edit this picture so it looks more like what I saw that night. The usual format I follow, we go lens corrections, remove chromatic aberrations, and enable profile corrections. From there, usually go through and I will just make sure the image is at a right angle. So anything on the horizon is pretty good for that. Let's select that again. Go here, select the horizon at the other end, and that will straighten the image. And then we'll crop the image to what I want. So I'm actually going to go a 16:9. I like 16:9 because if I use it as a wallpaper, it fits perfectly. I actually want to get rid of that fisherman. And using the rule of thirds, I'll put the horizon on the top third. Much better. Now we'll do some basic adjustments. Just a little bit of exposure. Try to get this histogram more in the middle. And we might just give the image a bit more contrast. Now we're going to drop the highlights. Hopefully bring a bit more colour in the sky. And just increase the shadows so we can see what's going on down in the water here. Then we're going to need to hold down the option button and up the whites until we nearly get pure white in some of the image. And we're going to do the same with the blacks. Drop that down until we start losing some of the image. So we might go about there. So if I do a quick before and after, that's before, so already looking a bit better. But I want to bring a bit more colour into the sky with this one. Let's just increase the clarity first and then try a bit of vibrance. Now what I read about the vibrance and saturation, not so much in this image, but if you've got an image with a person on it, if you increase the vibrance, it tends not to oversaturate the skin tones and more brings out the greens and the blues. Might give this one a little of saturation too. Okay, now we might just handle the detail slider. Just zoom in on a part of the image. Now there shouldn't be too much noise because it was taken at ISO 100. I always, just by habit, get rid of a bit of the colour noise and just do a slight amount of luminance noise reduction, which gets rid of the general noise probably in the sky. And then we'll do a little bit of sharpening. I reckon about 50. And we'll mask that sharpening off so it only sharpens the edges of the image. Okay, let's zoom out. Looking a lot better. Might just try and reduce the exposure in the sky a little bit and bring a little bit more colour back in. So we're going to add in a new graduated filter. Don't want to graduate it too much, maybe that much, and we'll bring it down to about there. Straighten it up a bit. Now we'll just play and we'll drop the exposure a bit. And we might bump up the saturation. And I want to make it a little bit more purple, so we'll just change the tint a bit to purple, not too much. Get that a bit bluer. Just drop the saturation a little bit. See how that looks. Oh, let's change where that actually is. So we might just click this, drag it down a little bit. How does that look? Let's do another before and after. A lot better. The only thing I want to do is maybe just bring out a little bit of the color down here. So let's grab a brush. And a little tip, if you've got all these sliders all over the place, to quickly reset them, just double click effect and it resets everything back to 0. So with this brush we want to bump up the exposure a bit. I'll usually overdo it so I can see where the brush is taking effect. Make this smaller, and we might just lighten that up there. And then I adjust the exposure accordingly. Give that a little bit more contrast. Okay. Let's see how that's looking now, before and after. Yeah, pretty happy with that. So that's pretty good. Let's have a look at one more quick edit, and then I'll show you all the photos that I took that night. So this is the second image I took. This was actually in a bit of water, so that was a bit of fun in my runners. So usual fix, lens corrections, these two. Then we'll go through and straighten the image. So I'm actually going to straighten it here. Enter, and then we're going to crop it 16:9 as well. I actually want to do this one. Put a little bit offset just to make it a bit more interesting. And we might just lower that down a little bit. That's better. And then just the basic corrections. Just up the exposure. Got the histogram more in the middle. Bump up the contrast a bit. Drop the highlights. Increase the shadows. Do a white adjustment. Do a black adjustment. Up the clarity. I'm going to up this one a bit. And then we might decrease the vibrance and saturation on this one just a little bit. The detail, sharpen it up. A little bit of noise reduction. Mask off the sharpening. You know, I think I might like this with a bit more colour, so let's go the other way. I think the green adds a bit of interest to it. And I reckon that looks pretty good too. So let's look at before and after. Here we go, a couple of quick edits from Mona Vale Beach. Actually stayed on that night and did some starlight photography, which we will show you in the next video. But in the meantime, here's some more photos from my night around Mona Vale.